You ever have one of those mornings where you just know the day's about to go off the rails? Yeah. Well, let me set the scene for you. Sun's barely up, my coffee's cooling off in my hand, and I'm standing out on my porch, soaking in the quiet of Elmwood Drive, ready to water my little patch of paradise before heading off to work. That garden, my pride and joy, wasn't anything fancy, but I'd poured my heart into it, you know? Marigolds, petunias, roses, all blooming bright along my walkway. A splash of color I'd worked hard to earn after years of hustling for this house. 3 years I'd been here, mostly peaceful, just minding my business. Except, well, there's always one neighbor, isn't there? For me, that was Brenda, who lived across the street. Imagine a woman in her late 50s, hair so bleached it practically glowed, always peering through the blinds like she's auditioning for some neighborhood spy role. She'd anointed herself the HOA president. Never mind the fact we didn't actually have an HOA. She'd even printed up fake business cards, if you can believe that. Now, word got around that Brenda was on the struggle bus ever since her husband left. She'd been trying to keep up appearances with just a part-time gig at the craft store, which I get, divorce is rough. But me, I kept things cordial. I waved when I saw her, kept it friendly but short. That morning, though, as I hooked up my garden hose, I saw her watching me, eyes narrowed. Next thing I know, her front door slams open, and she's storming across the street, robe askew, hair wild, with that look that every black man in America knows. Something's about to go down. "Excuse me," she yells, voice sharp enough to cut glass. I turn off the hose, set my coffee down, and brace myself. "Morning, Mrs. Kensington," I say, all polite. She doesn't smile. "I need to talk to you about your water usage. As HOA president, I'm monitoring everyone's utilities, and yours is excessive." I blink. "My water bill." She nods, speaking slow, like I'm a toddler. "It's too high. You're bringing down the neighborhood's efficiency ratings." I cross my arms, trying not to laugh. With all due respect, my water bill is my business. I pay it, on time, every month. How does that affect anyone else? She gets this look, cheeks getting red. "That's where you're wrong. As HOA president, I have the authority to regulate water usage. Frankly, you're being selfish. You're out here watering those flowers every day while some of us can't even pay our basic utilities. I haven't been able to pay my water bill in 2 months, and you're just wasting water on decorations." That's when it hits me. This isn't about water, or even the neighborhood. This is about her pockets. I tell her I'm sorry about her finances, but my bills are my responsibility. She snaps back. "Where I come from, neighbors help neighbors. I guess some people weren't raised with proper values." The undertone stings, but I hold my tongue. I say, "I help when I can, but paying someone else's water bill isn't something I can afford." She laughs, bitter. "Please. I see your car, your packages. You're doing just fine. You're just selfish." I feel my jaw tighten. I work hard for everything I have. That's all. She gets right up in my face. "You should recognize that as a property owner in an HOA, you have responsibilities, like helping neighbors in need." I tell her, again, there's no HOA here. And if there were, it wouldn't give her the right to shake me down for money. Her eyes narrow. "Oh, there's an HOA. I am the HOA. And if you don't start acting like a decent neighbor, there'll be consequences." I raise an eyebrow. "Are you threatening me?" She gives this smug smile. "I'm educating you about your place in this community." The implication hangs heavy in the air. I pick up the hose. "This conversation is over, Mrs. Kensington. Go back inside and handle your own business." She storms off, shouting, "This isn't over. Not by a long shot." And you know what? She meant it. A few days later, she shows up at my door with a folder full of HOA regulations she'd typed up herself. Stuff like limits on flower beds, a community water fund I was supposed to pay into, and her as the judge of who gets help. I flip through the pages, and it's a joke, except she's dead serious. I hand it back, telling her she can't just create an HOA and force people to join. She claims she's filed papers with the city, and that Mrs. Patterson, 2 doors down, signed on. I remind her Mrs. Patterson is 83 and barely remembers what day it is. Brenda's not having it. If you're going to be selfish and uncooperative, maybe this neighborhood isn't right for you. There's that "you don't belong" threat again. I tell her, firm, this is over, and if she keeps harassing me, I'll call the police. She laughs, says she'll report my illegal water usage. You're watering every day, sometimes twice. During a drought advisory, she snaps. There's no drought advisory, I say, exasperated. We'll see about that. I've got pictures, times, dates, everything. It's perfectly legal when you're acting as an official, she insists. I realize she's actually been photographing me in my yard. After she leaves, I call my friend Jerome, paralegal, sharp as a tack, and lay out the whole mess. He's appalled. You can't just create an HOA, and she can't harass you like that. Document everything, man. If she pushes further, call the cops. A week passes. Then one Saturday, I'm tinkering with my motorcycle when Brenda calls 911 on me, right there in front of the whole block. He's threatening me. He's violating community standards. She's putting on a show for the police, waving her folder of fake bylaws like it's gospel. Officer Jake, who'd helped me before, takes one look at the papers and flatly tells her, "You can't make your own HOA. These rules aren't real. You can't force your neighbors to pay your bills." Brenda's desperate now, yelling about community standards and my place in the neighborhood. The cops are patient, but clear. If you keep harassing Mr. Clark, you'll be the one facing charges. The next morning, the drama gets ratcheted up. Brenda's pounding on my door, soaking wet, in nothing but a towel, yelling her water's been shut off, and it's my fault. If you'd helped with the water fund, this wouldn't have happened, she screams. I tell her, as calmly as I can, that her water being shut off is about her, not me. Neighbors come out to watch the spectacle, some shaking their heads, some filming. Brenda wants to use my shower. I say no. She threatens me again, loud and clear, in front of everyone. Couple days later, my own water line's busted. Smashed, actually, deliberate sabotage. I call the cops, and Officer Jake's back, takes a look, and says, "Looks like vandalism. You want to file a restraining order." Brenda denies everything, but can't explain where she was when it happened. The plumber confirms, someone did this on purpose. I'm out almost $1,000 in repairs. At this point, I'm done playing nice. I file for that restraining order, dig up every bit of proof about how there's never been an HOA on our street, and go straight to the water department. Turns out, Brenda's water hadn't been shut off at all. She'd paid her bill just the day before, after 4 months of not paying. Even the craft store manager tells me Brenda was fired months ago for stealing from the register. If you think she quit then, you don't know Brenda. She doubles down, starts a public scene, standing in the street with a megaphone, accusing me of being a criminal, claiming I'm the one who doesn't belong. The neighbors finally have enough. Mrs. Chun, sweet but tough as nails, tells Brenda to go home. Mr. Johnson, across the street, records everything. Brenda snaps, calls me names, accuses me of vandalism. Everyone can see who the real problem is. Eventually, the water department catches her bypassing her meter, stealing water for months. She gets charged with fraud, vandalism, and making false police reports. Turns out, she'd also been scamming some of the elderly neighbors for cash, claiming it was for community improvements. Brenda ends up forced to sell her house, pays restitution to everyone, and moves out in disgrace. And you know what? The neighborhood comes together. Mrs. Chun bakes a pie. Mr. Johnson helps me put up security cameras, and the new family who moves in is warm and welcoming. For a while, things are peaceful, and I can finally enjoy my flowers again. But sometimes, the past comes knocking. Brenda shows up one night, looking wild and desperate, tries to break into her old house, smashes a window, and gets hauled off by the cops again. She blames me for her troubles, makes threats, and when she gets out on bail, my car's tires are slashed with a note. Told you this wasn't over. So, here I am, coffee in hand, still tending my flowers, still keeping my head up. You tell me, when a neighbor goes this far, how would you handle it? Have you ever had to deal with someone who just couldn't let go? Let's hear your stories in the comments. And if you think standing your ground matters, hit that like button. Because on Elmwood Drive, sometimes karma just needs a little nudge from the folks who refuse to back down.